When drivers start saying sorry on live TV, you know something went really wrong. And that's exactly what happened at the 2025 Monaco Grand Prix. This was supposed to be one of the fanciest and most important races of the year. But fans around the world couldn't believe what they saw as Formula One's best drivers got stuck in a super slow mess. What happened was a race so fake and boring that even the biggest fans felt embarrassed watching it. What we saw on the narrow streets of Monte Carlo wasn't an exciting fight between the world's best drivers. It was like watching a slow, boring game that looked more like a video game than real racing. Drivers were going super slow on purpose to help their teams, and it was almost impossible to pass other cars. Now many people are asking, has Formula One's most famous race become its biggest problem? This video explains exactly what happened, why Monaco became a joke, and what it means for the future of F1. If you care about keeping this sport fair and exciting, hit subscribe, because what we're about to talk about really matters. The 2025 Monaco Grand Prix was supposed to be amazing, a celebration of Formula One's coolness and how good the drivers are. Instead, it became a warning story that showed how far apart old traditions and modern racing have grown. For many years, Monaco has been the sport's most famous event, bringing back memories of the golden days of racing. But after this year's race, many people are wondering if it has just become a pretty fake show that doesn't work anymore. The plan seemed good at first. F1 officials were getting pressure from fans and reporters to make racing at Monaco more exciting, so they made a new rule that said all drivers had to make 2 pit stops during the race. On paper, it seemed like a smart way to mix things up. More strategy, more chances for surprises, more opportunities for drivers to change positions. But instead of making the racing more exciting, it created a huge mess. What we got wasn't really a race. It was like watching paint dry, but everyone could see it happening. If you look closely, you could see the warning signs from the very beginning. The Monaco racetrack has super tight corners, no extra space if you make a mistake, and really narrow roads that make it almost impossible to pass another car. And today's F1 cars are really wide, really long, and need clean air to work well, which makes passing even harder. Drivers and teams know this, which is why doing well in practice and getting a good starting position has always been the most important thing here. But this year, with the new rule that everyone had to make a second pit stop, the race turned into something completely different. It became a high-pressure game of controlling traffic. Teams quickly figured out that the fastest way to get ahead wasn't by making brave passes or smart tire choices. It was by blocking other drivers. Several teams told one of their drivers to go really slow on purpose, making all the cars behind them slow down too. This created a good time for their teammate to come into the pits. Williams did this with their drivers. RB did it with their drivers too. This trick was obvious, mean, and completely allowed under the current rules. But it made the racing look like a complete joke. This wasn't smart strategy. It was clearly cheating the system to control how the race went, and it led to really embarrassing moments. George Russell was trying not to get stuck behind a super slow car, so he took a shortcut through the chicane. He refused to give his position back, saying he had no choice if he wanted to avoid crashing. The race officials disagreed and gave him a penalty that made him drive through the pits slowly. But Russell wasn't sorry. In fact, he perfected. Lai explained how crazy the whole situation was when he said, "At one point I was like, forget it, I don't care. I was going to finish nowhere anyway." Russell wasn't the only one who was frustrated. Max Verstappen, the current world champion, had nothing but bad things to say about the race. He came into the pits from first place late in the race, knowing it wouldn't help his final position at all. "You can't really race here anyway," he said directly. "1 pit stop or 10 pit stops, it doesn't matter. I could have made 4 pit stops and still finished in 4th place. That's not him being dramatic. It's a really harsh but true criticism. Verstappen even joked about turning the race into a video game parody. Maybe we should put special parts on the car and throw bananas around. These aren't comments from new drivers or slow drivers. They're from champions, the sport's biggest stars. And when drivers are using sarcasm to show how disappointed they are, you know the problem is really serious. Even the people who plan race strategy and team bosses didn't want to defend this mess. James from Williams called it exactly what it was. It's not the way we want to go racing. Toto Wolff didn't even say anything with words. He just shook his head to show he didn't approve when someone asked him about the weekend's tactics. Meanwhile, Jenson Button, who used to be world champion, went even further. "The drivers are embarrassed," he said on Sky Sports. "As a kid, you dream about racing in F1. Then you come to Monaco, and it's about driving as slow as you can to help your teammate." And he's totally right. The Monaco Grand Prix has somehow become the complete opposite of what F1 should be about. Speed, danger, perfect driving, all gone. What's left is a line of super-fast cars stuck moving like they're in a parade while teams play chess games instead of actually racing to get ahead. Charles tried his best to make something exciting happen in the final laps. He pushed really hard behind Lando Norris, whose McLaren was trying to save, his tires while fighting off two Ferraris and Verstappen, who was close behind. But even though Charles tried really hard, he never really had a chance to pass Norris. There just wasn't enough room to get by without risking a huge crash. What we got was a boring line of cars that looked exciting but really had no action at all. The fact that McLaren got their first Monaco win since 2008 is worth celebrating, especially for Norris, who stayed calm under huge pressure. But even he said after the race that the win wasn't the most thrilling in terms of actual racing. "We won in Monaco, and it doesn't matter how you win," he said. But yeah, I was nervous. A win that he worked hard for, yes. A great race? That's much harder to say. The bigger worry, though, is that this wasn't just a one-time problem. It's part of a pattern that's been going on for a long time. Monaco has always been near the bottom when you count how many times drivers pass each other during a race. Race fans have accepted for a long time that this event is more about the fancy show than the actual racing. But this year was different. This year went too far because, when even the new rules that were supposed to fix the problem make it worse, it forces everyone to face the truth. F1 is now at a big decision point. Can it keep having races at places that can't give us real competition? Or does Monaco's history matter more than the sport's promise to have fair and exciting racing? There are some ideas being talked about. Big changes to the racetrack, fewer cars in the race, starting with the slowest cars in front, or even turning Monaco into a time trial where drivers just try to go as fast as possible alone. But all of these ideas have problems too. The saddest part of all this is that the drivers themselves had to say sorry for something they couldn't control. Alex Albon looked right into the camera and just said, "Sorry." Not for driving badly, not for crashing, but because, as a group, Formula One had failed to put on a good show. It was one of the most honest moments we've seen in F1 recently. The lesson here is that Monaco can't hide from criticism anymore. The fancy atmosphere, the history, and the money can't cover up the fact that from a racing point of view, this event is completely broken. And while Norris was right to celebrate a big moment in his career, the bigger story of Monaco 25 might be what it showed us about the future of Formula One. Should Monaco be completely redesigned, or should it be taken off the calendar completely? Let me know what you think in the comments. Because if Formula One wants to stay the best motorsport in the world, it might need to start by rethinking the race that used to represent everything the sport stood for.